So there's so much that everybody can do. I think if they understand what they're doing and what they're using, then just simple little things, challenge everyone internally to start thinking about it. Like, how can I change things? What can I cut down myself?
With most service businesses, travel is the biggest element. Sure. I think product-based businesses, it tends to be the products that they're buying, materials, but with service businesses, it's almost always travel.
Like for like, we could save 20 to 30% of mileage. Now, in practice, there'll be reasons why not all of that can be taken. But even if it was 10%, then that would be 60 million miles if we managed to get that applied across our base.
Hello, BigChange community. Jonathan here, and I'm bringing you another episode of our insightful growth series podcast. In today's episode, we are tackling a topic of global significance that impacts every single one of us. It is Earth Overshoot Day. We're not just going to be discussing the issue, and we're looking at how you, as part of our community, can be part of the solution. Joining me today are three fantastic experts. First, we have Joe Godsmark, a Chief Data and Sustainability Officer here at BigChange, who's driving our sustainable initiatives. We also have Kate Lovell, Marketing Director at Cleanology, a company renowned for its sustainable cleaning solutions. And lastly, but by no means least, we have Eoin McQuone, Chief Carbon Coach at Go Climate Positive. Welcome to you all, and thank you for being here today. Eoin, first to you. What is Earth Overshoot Day?
Okay, so Earth Overshoot Day is a way of helping us understand how we're using up the world's resources. And the idea is that if you imagine, if we were 100% sustainable, then Earth Overshoot Day would be the 31st of December. It's actually this year, the 1st of August, and that's because by then we'll have used up all the renewable resources on the planet, and then we're essentially dipping into the resource bank of the Earth and taking out more than we're putting back.
And I think we've got a chart on screen, don't we, which is kind of explaining the things that you were talking about, starting off in 1971, moving over to the 2023.
Yeah, so 1971 Earth Overshoot Day was right near the end of December, which means we weren't really using up too many unrenewable resources, but you can see it's been pretty much moving backwards ever since. The good news is it's leveled out roughly since about 2009, but it's still stuck at the start of August, and the challenge really is to push the date back.
And Joe, from your perspective over at BigChange, the environment's a huge part of what we do. We like to help our customers in their green initiatives. What does Earth Overshoot Day mean to you, and how are we changing things at BigChange?
So obviously at BigChange, we like big changes. We think we're part of that transformation journey. I think in practice, we need to be part of the story with customers like Cleanology and the thousands of others we have, making lots of incremental changes in sustainability. We've worked with Eoin to look at our own carbon footprint. But actually our carbon footprint is something like 1/500th of the carbon footprint that our customers are, from all our customers' mileage alone. So we're really focusing on how we help our customers with their sustainability journey, not to get out of our own obligations, but to make, to try and get that power of many.
And Kate, the role that Cleanology is playing, you work with many different customers in many different sectors. What type of knowledge and tools do you use to better the environment?
So our journey really started with Dominic, our CEO and co-founder. He had a Green Blue Peter badge, and ever since then he's obsessed with looking after the environment. So it's really gone from there, and within our business, it's part of our DNA. It's in all of our objectives. It's not just, we're not just ticking a box, but we're actually starting to work with larger customers now who are actually saying to us, we need you to start tracking what you do with us. So we're now tracking exactly what we do. We're going to start offsetting, but also we need to reduce what we're doing in order to minimise the impact that we're having on the environment, but also help our customers do so as well. And it's becoming part of the norm now that we report on the carbon that we use on their sites. And we report back on that on a quarterly basis.
If we think about the challenges that businesses have when trying to implement green initiatives, cost is probably one of the first things that businesses are worried about. What other challenges do businesses face, and how might they overcome them? Ian, if we start with you.
Well, the first challenge is most businesses haven't got a clue what their impact is.
Okay.
So, when we're talking about carbon, the first thing you have to do is actually measure your carbon footprint and understand what your impact is and where your impact is, because every organisation has a different footprint. With some, it's in their travel and transport. With others, it's in the products that they buy. With others, it might be the energy use. So that's step one, is actually understanding what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Once you've got that, it's then a case of, as Joe says, it's about incremental change. What are the small changes you can make each day, each week, each year, to just kind of start moving the bar?
I think, Ian, you were saying to me that you work with some field service management companies and other service businesses, and mileage and travel is a big part of that, of their carbon footprints.
Yeah, with most service businesses, travel is the biggest element. Sure. I think product-based businesses, it tends to be the products that they're buying, materials, but with service businesses, it's almost always travel. Yeah.
And Kate, is the travel one of the largest elements within Cleanology?
Yeah, I would say so, because obviously we've got 1,400 cleaners going up to all of our sites. I think what we can control is our own fleet. So we have a full electric fleet in London, and obviously as we're growing nationally, we're then replicating that throughout the country. Sort of our leaders, they all have electric cars, but also ensuring that our area managers, our regional managers are going out via public transport rather than driving so much, and that they're also starting to get either hybrid or electric cars as well. And I think we just have to get better all the time at it, I think.
And what would you say to a business out there who's perhaps toying with the possibility of moving towards an electric fleet? Because let's face it, there probably are some concerns. Is it range anxiety that people have? As a personal user of a car, if I miss my appointment, so what? But if a company is letting down various customers, that could be a concern. So how would you suggest they overcome any of those concerns?
It is about planning. So I think people like BigChange can help us. But also I think it's about more charging points need to be put in this country. Also, in London, they're now starting to charge you for parking with an electric vehicle. So you're penalised for that. So I think it's about helping businesses make things more accessible. You do have to plan a lot more. I know I've got family members who have to travel throughout the country, and they've actually switched to hybrid cars because they can't make the journey in time. So I think it's about creating more charging points and making things more accessible, really, for businesses.
And I think one of the things that we think is really important is, as well as support our customers moving to EVs, and we know we need to do more to make that visible in the product, but also looking at ways we can help customers save the mileage. Because actually, if you can do the same jobs but with fewer miles, then that obviously not only does that help the environment, but it also helps your business because you're getting more revenue because you're spending less time driving. So we've and Ian and I were talking about earlier actually the fact that we are saying let's save mileage, even though we know that people are transitioning to EVs because mileage is still important. Am I right in thinking that, Ian?
Absolutely, because EVs are lower carbon than petrol and diesel cars, but they're still not zero carbon.
No.
The electricity, they're getting electricity from the grid. Around about half of the electricity in the UK is still from non-renewable sources, from fossil fuels. You're still having an impact. So it's really important to look at how you can reduce your mileage and look at where those little changes you can make. Do you have to make the journey? If so, how can you make it more efficient? How can you drive less? It's all part of the story.
And of course, that we offer as part of BigChange functionality that allows us to optimize routes and travel less. What type of results have we seen with this functionality, Joe?
So for a while, we've had functionality that allows you to, for a single engineer or a single cleaner or operative, allows you to say, what's the most efficient route for today's jobs? Route Optimiser, we call that. We've also said, if you've got a new job to put in to your schedule, who's the best resource to do that, and you can do that from a minimising cost or environmental point of view. But in 2024, we're really pleased that we've launched something called Schedule All, which allows the people to optimise hundreds of jobs, even thousands of jobs at one time. So that takes out the admin burden. Now we've done some tests, and we think, you know, like for like, you could save 20 to 30% of mileage. Now you know, in practice, there'll be reasons why not all of that can be taken. But even if it was 10%, then that would be 60 million miles if we managed to get that applied across our base. So we think it's a huge opportunity. We know that all of our customers are different, and obviously if someone's walking in London, it's different. But we think it's a huge opportunity.
And I think when we look at the mileage saved, it's not just an environmental impact that it has a financial impact as well. The less miles that you travel, you can get to jobs quicker, so you can do more jobs. There's less wear and tear on the vehicle, so there's less tyres, you need to replace brakes and so on and so forth. So yes, it's looking after the environment, but there's also profitability in it as well.
We also know that operatives, engineers are some of the most valuable resources our customers have. So actually, and who wants to spend their time driving wasted mileage? No one does. So I think there's lots of reasons to have efficient journeys, and also sometimes this is just about visibility, knowing that, say, you're going to Kent for one type of job, what else can you do while you're there, and making really intuitive map views and having engines to help you find those jobs. Because if we just go on maybe one slide from here, because transport is now the biggest contributor, isn't it, Ian?
So one of the things that the UK has actually done really well is to start to decarbonise our energy supply. And we've done better than that than most other.
Actually, maybe the previous slide shows that quite nicely.
The most other developed nations. So this slide actually shows the overall planetary Earth Overshoot Day is the 1st of August. This slide shows the Earth Overshoot Day that's been worked out for each country. And UK is actually in June the 3rd, I think. Fine. So, which, is still in the first half of the year. But if you look up the right-hand side, most of the other developed nations, developed economies, have got dates even earlier, indicating they're using up their own resources much more quickly. So a lot of that is related to the fact that we've done a pretty good job of decarbonising a lot of our energy supply. But if you kind of move on to the next slide, you can see now, so as a result of that, our energy supply is around about 20% of the nation's carbon footprint right now. And transport, as Joe says, is actually just over a quarter. So energy supply, we're kind of on a trajectory. We know what we need to do. Transport is one of the next big challenges.
Okay. And Kate, if we look at this chart that we've got on screen here, we talked about reducing transport. And I'll come to you in a second, Joe. Business, 18%. What can we do as businesses to reduce that 18%? Is there anything we can do, or is transport going to be our main focus?
I think every business has to look at everything they do to reduce that carbon. How much paper they're using on the photocopier. I think a lot of businesses that we work with only have one photocopier in the whole of their building now, using less paper every day. What do you order to put in the office for people to use? Cutting down your plastic. We're trying to eradicate plastic with all of our customers. And also we've saved, I think, compared to last year, on single-use plastic, we've saved 80% more this year than we did last year in a year. And that's literally by educating our customers and getting them to reduce the plastic that we use on their sites. So changing the products we use and everything like that. Trying to use battery-operated machinery rather than plugging it into the plugs. So there's so much that everybody can do. I think if they understand what they're doing and what they're using, then just simple little things, challenge everyone internally to start thinking about it, like how can I change things? What can I cut down myself? Then they'll start doing it in their personal lives as well, I think.
And Joe, sustainability is in one of our core values. We've moved to a brand new office. What have we done in our new space that really puts the environment and sustainability at the heart of what we do. And what are your plans as Chief Sustainability Officer for the next 12 months?
So through working with Eoin, we've got a much better handle on where our carbon footprint is. And one of the great things we learned is that all of our hosting, our data centres that we use are green energy, run off green energy. So that's a big win. We've implemented travel has been an issue. We want to go out and spend time with our customers. We want our customers to come to us. So we've put in, and we've got EV pool cars now.
Yep.
And we've also got a green travel scheme. So if you come into work up to 10 times by a green method, so you cycle, you walk, you get public transport, then you get lunch on us. Wow. So, and we have that rolling through the year. So all these little changes. We also, tablets, for instance, we wherever possible reuse, recycle, ethically dispose of our tablets, working with the schools to where we wipe the tablets and pass those on rather than dispose of them in a less environmentally friendly way. We have a lot more to do. We've got a lot more in our supply chain to do with tracking devices and tablets in terms of source. This is back to the net zero point. So we've got a lot more to do, but these offices are more energy efficient, but they then are larger. But then sometimes we're then able to entertain our customers here and run training events here rather than using a hotel and all go and travel somewhere else. So that's been a big benefit as well.
Okay. We've used a few terms in these conversations, and I'm just wondering if we could perhaps clarify for those watching what the difference is. So we've talked about net zero and we've talked about carbon neutrality. Now, I must admit, I've heard these terms and I perhaps assumed that they're very similar. What's the difference between the two?
Yeah, so it's a common misconception that they're because they sound pretty similar and they sound like they might be the same. And we only really started talking about net zero around about COP26 that was held in Glasgow, the big UN climate conference in Glasgow. And that was where pretty much all the nations of the world really committed to, achieving net zero and, writing it down. And essentially the principle behind net zero is it's more about the zero than the net. So what we're trying to do is to reduce all of our greenhouse gas emissions to as close to zero as we possibly can. That's the fundamental thing. We know we won't get all the way to zero, so that's why we have the net bit. And the net part of net zero means that we will have to offset what's left. But what's really important is to do that, what we're going to actually have to do is physically remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to compensate. But it's really important to understand that we can only really do that for the last little bit. It's really all about reducing as close to zero as we possibly can. The concept of carbon neutrality has been around, for quite a few decades. And the idea behind that was that you can compensate for all of the emissions that you're putting out now by buying carbon credits, which finance somebody else reducing their emissions. But what we've realised is that approach won't actually get us all the way to net zero. There's just not enough carbon credits around to do that. So net zero has become really the gold standard that everyone's aiming for. And that means a much stronger focus on reducing emissions first, offsetting what we're not able to reduce. But it focuses on reduction with net zero.
And Kate, net zero, we hear in the news lots of countries saying they want to be net zero by a certain period of time. Is there anything that Cleanology is working towards? Is there a date that Cleanology are working towards as to when you guys are going to strive to be net zero?
So our target is 2035.
Okay.
Yeah, and obviously we're starting that journey, beginning that we're offsetting. And then obviously we do need to reduce our carbon usage in order for us to even hit that. So that's our business target.
So you're being quite ambitious there.
Yeah, we are.
The UK and the UN is is to hit net zero by 2050.
Okay.
And the UK has got a supplementary goal of reducing by 78%
Wow.
by 2035.
We're very blessed because we work with excellent suppliers and partners who are also on the same journey and also have the same targets. So we work together very closely. We can basically tell our customers how much carbon we've emitted in the delivery of our supplies to their site, because our suppliers are either carbon neutral or net zero as well, or they have some kind of ethical social impact value exercises that they undertake. So we only work with people that can help support us on that, which is why obviously sustainability is a massive part of our business.
And Joe, Kate mentioned about the supply chain. We're fortunate enough to be part of Cleanology's supply chain, supplying job management software to them. How are we helping our customers on this journey? What tools we offer reporting, don't we? That's a huge part. And that's the other part of your role, Chief Data Officer. What are we going to be doing to make it even easier for our customers to report and track their journey as they go to net neutrality?
So we've already got the ability for our customers to put in the CO2 per kilometre for each vehicle that they've got in our app. And therefore we can then say for every journey and every job what the CO2. And I know I've talked to customers who are, for instance, we're also in the blessed position that some of our customers are helping the revolution by fitting air source heat pumps, solar panels, etc. And obviously it's really important for them when they're doing that kind of work that they can say on the job card, actually this is carbon neutral or carbon free at the emission, so at the exhaust, not overall.
Ideally, we'd be tracking the total amount of carbon all the way back to the source as well. Yeah.
So I think we've made a step to start our customers on this journey. We've got emission reporting. We're building out at the moment emission dashboards that will help a lot in terms of some of the work Kate and others like her need to do, which is, okay, for that site that I did those service jobs on, what was the carbon footprint of that for that customer, that site, that job? But also one of the reasons we're working in partnership with Go Climate Positive is to get that expertise fed in to say, okay, you've started by doing this. The next thing you need to do is this. So we know we need to do more to show the EV journeys. We also need to do more, as Ian says, to give the options of also doing the multiplier for the journey to the pump as well. So we're on the way, but we've got a lot more to do. But we will be doing more reporting, sending more dashboards out to our community during 2024.
That's awesome. It's been a really good conversation, guys. I think to wrap this up, I think I'll ask each of you the same question, really. Why? And we'll go around. Why should Earth Overshoot Day matter to businesses? And a tiny little political spin, or a second part to it, really. What can our customers do to make a difference? So 2 parts. Why should it matter to our customers or people watching this, and what can they do to make a difference? So Joe, we'll start with you.
So I think Earth Overshoot Day matters partly because of the direction in which we're travelling, which is maybe stabilising a bit, but generally still getting a little bit worse every year. And we can see in that slide about the countries, there's an awful lot of countries who will do more industrialisation and will move us the wrong direction to a standard of living, which we have to accept and support. So I think we all have to make changes. I think what I'd ask our customers is to look at our scheduling tools in particular, but also job reporting, because if we can improve job success rates and stop going to jobs and having to re-go to jobs, that's another way of saving carbon. So I'd also ask our customers to say, how can BigChange help? Be demanding of us. Talk to us about what you want to see in our dashboards, in our reporting, in our services to help you on your decarbonisation journey. And we have to do our own part to make sure we're also, we're doing our part in our own business as well. But yes, be demanding would be my ask.
Okay, fantastic. Ian, same question to you.
So I think in the last few decades, we've come to realise that the idea that business is somehow separate from the environment and from the community is just wrong. And business can't exist unless it looks after its people and the communities that it exists in. And it can't exist without looking after the environment, because every single resource that a business uses ultimately comes from the planet. And if we keep on using up all the resources of the planet, that's actually going to give us a big business problem, because we're not going to be able to get the resources that we need. So that long-term view that if we don't look after the planet, sooner or later our business is actually going to struggle to get all the things and resources that it needs. Means that every business has an invested interest in being more sustainable. And to do it, it's really a case of, first of all, understanding what your key impacts are. Every business has a carbon footprint, but also, businesses use a lot of materials. What type of materials and how much are you using? And maybe there are some other environmental footprints too. In certain types of process, it might be the potential for pollution. We've seen a lot about that in water and so on recently. Understand what your impacts are, start measuring them, and then incrementally work at reducing them.
Okay, fantastic. And Kate, finally to you.
Well, for a business, it just makes business sense, doesn't it? I mean, looking after your people is obviously one of the most important things. So paying them fairly, training them, mentoring them to succeed. But then also looking after the environment as well is our duty. We should be doing it. It's our planet, it's our world. And if we don't look after it, then, our children and their children won't have a planet to look after. And I think that then also helps the business by reducing things like what you use in terms of paper, emissions and fuel. You're going to actually reduce your business costs. So it does make business sense. What I would say to our customers is probably be brave. Obviously sustainable consumables and products actually cost more. So actually take the initial hit now, and then eventually the costs will go down as they become more popular. With economies of scale, but be brave and actually say, right, I'm going to make a stand and I'm going to only use sustainable products and things in my business.
Fantastic. Kate, thank you so much. Ian, thank you so much for joining me. And Joe, thank you very much for coming here. So we've covered an awful lot of ground today, and we've highlighted the importance of understanding and acting on Earth Overshoot Day. There's a huge amount of resources, not just to the things that we've discussed, but some functionality in the video description below. So if you're as passionate about sustainability as we are, and you'd like to learn more, check out the video description below. If you found this episode informative, do give us a thumbs up. We would really like to get as many likes as possible, and do subscribe to our channels. And we'll put links to the socials for Cleanology and Go Climate as well. So thank you very much to our guests for joining us today. Thank you to you for watching. And we hope you and your businesses continue to be unstoppable. Thank you.